Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Sit Heads Meditation Club. My name is John. I organize this group. And Sit Heads is a sitting and social group for people interested in deep meditation practice. Everything we do is free and donation-based. We meet up every Thursday. We meditate and we talk about practice. Sometimes we have a guest teacher. So if you want to hang out with us, you can find us, if you haven't found us already, at sitheads.com. That's sit-heads.com. We don't have any one set teacher, but we do have visiting teachers and other guests join us from time to time. And as you can tell from this week, we are very fortunate in the teachers we've been able to bring in. Tonight we have the wonderful Stephanie Nash, which is really exciting. So I'm going to just briefly introduce Stephanie Nash and then pass the mic to Stephanie. So Stephanie Nash, since 1998, Stephanie has taught with meditation teacher, meditation revolutionary, Shinzen, the creator of the Unified Mindfulness system, author of the Science of Enlightenment. So Stephanie worked very closely with Shinzen in developing the system that became Unified Mindfulness. Shinzen calls her a master of mindfulness coaching with, quote, a deep understanding and vast experience in this field, end quote. She has collaborated with Harvard Medical School, Carnegie Mellon, and she teaches mindfulness across the world to individuals and organizations. And on a personal note, I'm going to say that I feel that Stephanie Nash has created the most valuable resource publicly available on meditation posture. Her posture guide, which you can find on, I think, her strategic mindfulness website. It's just killer. Just grab it and you'll see for yourself. I'm not even going to say anything more about that. So the way this is going to work is Stephanie and I are going to have a short conversation, maybe 20 minutes, which I think will help sort of inspire questions from others for the Q&A. And then we'll just open it up to everybody and take questions. But before we do that, Stephanie, is there anything that you'd like to say?
Can you hear me okay?
You sound great.
I'm puppy sitting, so I'm giving
We're very pet friendly here at Sit Heads.
he's a little
Oh
challenged.
no, so cute.
He's adorable. I'm glad to be here. I love that you do spontaneous sits. I think that's just fun, the whole idea of spontaneously, let's sit. So I hope to just be able to contribute whatever I can. I will say that one of my passions is practical application of mindfulness, and that doesn't mean it doesn't go deep. That's all I'll say.
Awesome. So I just put the stuff in the Slack, Stephanie's websites, Donna, Sithead's website, in the chat rather, and the link to the online group chat, so you can take a look there. All right, well, Stephanie, I'm so glad to be talking with you. I mean, you and I met a while back. It feels like a different life now, but I'm really glad that we were able to maintain this connection and that you can be here with us tonight.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
So is it cool if I just start by asking you a question and then we can just go off that?
Absolutely.
All right, so Unified Mindfulness is in some ways a collage of different practices, many different practices. Collage is the wrong term because everything is so in its proper place, right? It's so organized and systematized, but it is, there are just a bunch of different techniques in the mix and lots of different things for someone to choose from. What would you say is the advantage, if you feel there is an advantage, to practicing sort of a variety of techniques versus just going deep in one technique? And I guess a follow-up to that is, or a sort of ancillary question to that, I'm asking follow-ups before you even get to answer, very poor form, but is the intention with Unified Mindfulness for someone to go broad and acquaint themselves with all these different practices and sort of cross-train? Or is the intention to provide a menu and then say, take one of these and go all the way in.
Okay, so let's see, what order shall I go in?
Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't have done that.
Intention. I would definitely not say the intention was to either go broad or go deep. The intention was to supply you the tools to do both. And the reason it goes broad is that one advantage to the variety of techniques, but there are also integrative themes. Oh, there I am, quite big. I don't think I want to see myself there. I'm going to just move this over here. There we go.
Is that okay?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I just had to, I don't want to talk to myself.
Surprise.
I do that on Insight Timer all the time. I'm doing all these lives on Insight Timer. You're just looking at your own face in front of 800 people. It's an interesting experience. But it gives you an ability to optimize any experience that happens in your life with options. So it's kind of like if you're a carpenter and all you have is a hammer, everything ain't a nail. So that you have a variety, a toolkit, so you have optimal techniques and strategies you can use in any given circumstance to maximize the depth to which you go, and the depth and the freedom from suffering and the elevation of satisfaction. So that those, if we're going to say what everything's going for, it's that eliminate or reduce or eliminate satisfaction, suffering, and elevate fulfillment and satisfaction. So yes, so. And when Shinzen shifted to the Unified Mindfulness system, it used to be called Basic Mindfulness, and he now really feels that he has some technique or strategy everywhere that is an homage of some kind to all sorts of different techniques. Like he'll say, oh, that's an homage to jhanas. Well, rest states aren't jhanas. If you've done jhana practice, you know jhana practice are very different. But you're going in that direction. So did I answer, let's see, which question was the intention and what was the first question?
The first question was, I think the first question was, what's the sort of advantage of doing
the broad? That's it, to be able to optimize. And now what I used to do before there was the training system, and now we have all these teachers, and it was just kind of, I was the one on retreats, and I did spend a lot of time going around to people who first come to retreats and are going, whoa, I thought I was just going to be having a relaxing experience. This is grad school. And I'd go around to people and go, it's okay, just pick one, go deep in one, that's fine. Now it's time to ease up, go for a walk, because it's pretty industrial strength stuff. But it is an algorithmical yellow brick road to enlightenment. It's like whatever's in your way. There's a very precise and easy to follow, somewhat, way to work through whatever your obstacles are.
Let me pick up that thread, because I think that's interesting. This idea of it being a yellow brick road to enlightenment. So
that's the name of a book I'm writing, by the way.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's fun.
I'm doing Yellow Brick Road to Enlightenment. It's my version of Shinzen's techniques.
Okay, cool. That's so it's an instructional book. It's a how to meditate book, or how to practice book, let's say. I'm a storyteller. I think it should all be fascinating and fun. So I tell stories of my journey, and along the way, you don't realize you're learning techniques and strategies. And so at the end of every chapter, of course, there'll be, here's techniques to do, but it's woven through stories of discovery of, oh, so if I do this helped when I had this crisis. And that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting, it's my journey through learning Shinzen's techniques and offering them in a way that I think is highly digestible. Yeah, well, I look forward to that. And I do think it'll be interesting to, maybe this already exists, but the sort of Shinzenian teachings, but filtered through the lens of a different personality. I think that'll be interesting, because Shinzen has a very, you and Shinzen have a very distinctive system of practice. And then separately from that, maybe it's not entirely separate, but Shinzen also has a very distinctive style and personality. And so, but those two don't necessarily have to be together. I'll be interested to read it.
That's why I started teaching, by the way. I was with Shinzen, and I was ahead in math, and I was good at that kind of way of thinking, but you couldn't have two more opposite personalities than Shinzen and me. He's like a Jewish geek who was in a Japanese monastery, and I'm a white shiksa actress. It's like we were just and I think everything should be funny. And he, and I remember one time saying, "Oh, Shinzen, I came up with this great meditation," and he said, "Oh, let me try it." And he guided. We were in his room at retreat, and then he guided, and he came back and said, "What about that?" And I said, "Well, I do it this way and this way." And he said, "Oh, I see. You're making it entertaining." No, I don't do that. I'm making it academic." And I went, "Well, I know. I just thought maybe we could have fun while we're doing it, kind of thing." So then I was explaining things to his teachers, because I would put it in what I call baby talk, and I would have cheat sheets. There would be all these facilitatory trainings, because for years at every retreat, he'd teach something totally different. So I would explain to everyone what he's teaching and why, and I'd make these little outline cheat sheets, and people come up and go, "Could you give me one of the cheat sheets? I want to know what's going on," for the teachers. And then, I started explaining it a lot. Then people just kept asking me to teach, but I felt what he was doing. If everyone knew that, that would be a Nobel Prize. And I thought a purpose for me on the planet would be to get people who would never in a million years go to his retreat or see him. If I could get people like that to embody and live what he's teaching, I thought, I've done my purpose. I got that. I'll take that one. So that's why I started teaching in the first place, to put it a different way. So with honoring, the greatness. So I can't put both hands down because I got puppy. But that was a bow to Shinzen.
I realized that I'm being, I was a little bit remiss, because I'm assuming everyone in this audience knows, I've assumed, I think, inappropriately, that everyone in this audience sort of knows the deal with Shinzen, right? So we're talking a lot about like, oh yeah, Shinzen's remarkable, innovative system. We've bit of a tease, actually. Would you?
You want to spiel?
Yeah. Would you give the elevator pitch? Like, what's the 1 minute or 2 minute, like, oh yeah, here's the deal of the sort of thing that Shinzen teaches.
So most people often, they think of mindfulness as watching the breath, and they go, "That's it." But what with Shinzen, and mindfulness is really tuning into your sensory experience. Everything you see, hear, feel, taste, smell, including the thought process, which is a see and a hear. We have visual images and internal talk. That's it. And our emotions, which are body sensations, usually fueled by the talk. And so what Shinzen's system does is deal with that vast array. We basically break it down into see, hear, feel, like 3 primary colors for the most part, tuning into the individual aspects of experience so they don't multiply and affect and create overwhelm, but also really auguring in to get a deeper understanding of what's happening. And I'm going to put down the puppy, and their relationship to each other, like how internal talk affects feel or something like that. And in breaking it down to see, hear, feel, there's also themes. We might explore, is it active? Is it restful? Is it flowing? Is it spacious? We might go into the basic theme of expansion and contraction, which is how we're created in each moment. So that would be I would not say it that way to non-meditators, but that would be, and what Shinzen has done is he's quite scientific, and he's created a systematized approach, or you could say a mindfulness system is what he has created, that you could just pick one aspect of and have that be your life practice, or you could really explore all of it. And I find that when I work with private clients, if they've got they're working a lot on one thing, I say, you know what, you might really benefit from working on flow or change movement. And his also, I really love how Shinzen works with impermanence, because in Buddhism they say impermanence and everything's arising or passing, A and P, or it's being born or dying, you know, and don't get attached because it's going to go. And what I love, what Shinzen does, is he tunes us into the moving, changing nature of everything. Doesn't matter if it's coming or going. And that, when you start doing that, we talk about being in the flow, in the zone, in the Tao. That really, by tuning into that, creates an agility and a flexibility of body and mind that is extraordinary.
Well, I would say that was a pretty remarkable summary for to take, you know, the vast compendium of Unified Mindfulness and give it to us in 2 or 3 minutes. But so, wow, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So thank you so much. I hope I have so many questions and so little time. Let me think of what I've got 2 I want to try and squeak in. We'll see what we can do. One is sort of doubling back a little bit, but also based on what you were just talking about, you know, the different aspects. You can dive into one, you can move between all the different modalities. Shinzen's system, or the Unified Mindfulness system that you and Shinzen created together.
I just want to say, Shinzen created the system. I don't want to. I was a contributor, and for a long time, I was kind of his sidekick. So for 10 years, while he was developing what originally was called the 5 Ways, I was kind of the person to call, hey, what do you think of this? But I'm not I'm not an equal contributor to him. I added some stuff here and there, and I was a nice feedback. So I don't want to play up that Shinzen and I created this. So
Fair enough.
I want to clarify that. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying. Sorry, I talked over you a little bit there.
It's his thing. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, understood. But so, what was I asking? Yeah. So, you know, other systems, there's a lot of talk about the various stages through which one passes, and there's a lot of emphasis on sort of the journey through time of one's meditation progress, often towards something like some sort of enlightenment or something. I have not, though I haven't read absolutely everything, but I haven't seen a lot of that in the 5 Ways or Unified Mindfulness, where they're talking about through time rather than across different modalities, right? Sort of like vertical versus horizontal or something. And I'm wondering, is that in the system, and how is it in the system? How is that addressed?
Are you asking, is there an evaluation of your progress? Is that what you mean? Like I know some people who come from Chuladasas go, well, I'm at this, I'm here. And so they have a little marker to put their gold star on the chart that they've got that. And is that what you're asking? Like, how do I know how far I am or how deep I'm going? Or is there an evaluation?
So not quite. I guess evaluation would have to be some part of it, but I'm personally not that interested in evaluation for its own sake. But you know, certain schools or methodologies, the way that you should practice changes based on where you are. As your practice matures, the experience shifts, and it's not so much about, you know, getting a different color belt to wear, right, to let other people know, but it's actually the practice is evolving, maturing, changing, and the instructions might change with it. And I'm curious if that exists.
Okay, so here's my take on how that exists. And first off, one of the things that is real important is to have a coach. You've got somebody who's paying attention to what you're doing. And that's where you get this personalized, this is what I do when I'm coaching. Someone's here and I go, I'm seeing what their struggles are, I'm seeing what their proclivities are, and I'm saying, they would really benefit from maybe a more highly focused concentration practice, or a flow practice, or a restful states, or, you know, I might pick because I'm the coach. And so I'm helping design the sequence of what will help them in their progress. And the coach also gives feedback and says, ah, look at how far you've grown. But the only thing that I know of that Shinzen will say, if someone says, how's my practice? He'll say, how's your life? That, and the way I say it is, it's not about becoming really good meditators. Like, oh, I do such good things with my eyes closed, let me tell you. It's about your life being better, and you're a better person, and you're more present. And so, and you know, when people are, I have some people just starting in practice. I had somebody just been meditating 3 weeks, and he said, oh, well, and I said, how's it going? He goes, okay, I don't know. And I'd say, all right, how's your life? How are your relationships? He goes, oh, my wife is much nicer. And I said, oh, he said, yeah, she must really like that I meditate. And I go, I bet she does. And, you know, and I said, how's your work? And he said, well, I'm getting a lot more done, you know. But he didn't notice his practice being any different because he was just looking at what happened during the time he was sitting. So that's where you have a coach who's giving you feedback that, oh, look, growth's happened. I just had a man who went through, got COVID, had all this stuff going on. And then he came back and he said, you know, I didn't get angry the way I usually do. Or I didn't get, so that's a sign that your practice is having an effect. It's rewiring your system. He didn't say, oh, I have anger. Let me go sit and meditate and process my anger. It just naturally didn't happen because of the work he's put in. So I would say the main thing that Shinzen talks about is it's really for making your life better, but he will also say, get a coach, rather, because there isn't one path for anybody. You can't say, hi, you're at level this, level this, level this, because everybody's different. And somebody may be coming in, someone may have had an awakening experience. So they're coming in kind of knowing that, but they're lacking the context or the concentration skills, or, you know, some of the other concentration, equanimity, sensory clarity. Those are the 3 core skills that if something has those 3 core skills, that is meditation. And that may apply to something we don't call meditation, and some things we call meditation, those wouldn't apply. So, you know, that's his kind of definition of meditation, in a way. So that, yeah, it's about, everyone comes in with a different thing. So is the person who had the awakening experience, are they ahead of somebody who is down here and has been focusing on their breath for 10 years and can really have lock-on concentration and go into jhanas? You know, who's judging and evaluating? So the main thing is, look at your life, and are you a better person? Are you more present? Or how do you love? How do you serve? You know, so that's my answer to that, as opposed to a report card or you know, gold stars on a chart, because it's to me that just isn't applicable.
Yeah, no, I think that's admirably grounded and practical, you know, in a sort of domain where things can get very esoteric. Certainly we in this group, I think many of us are aware of the pitfalls and potential sidetracks and drawbacks of a system that uses stages. You know, it's not to say that stages can't be useful, but the measuring, it happens for sure.
Ego measuring, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're right about at the hour mark, so I enjoy that, and I could keep talking with you and asking questions all night, but no one wants that except maybe
you.
me a little bit. But let's open it up to everyone. Okay, here's a question. Ooh. Little mustard on this question.
All right.
This is so someone is asking through me.
You don't want responsibility.
Fine. What are more organized and less expensive methods of learning unified mindfulness?
Well, what's expensive? What do you mean? I don't even know what that means. More organized and less expensive. My issue right now is we've got what's been organized is a teacher training, but not the training of the system, and I'm like, okay, that's nice as a teacher training, but where's the online training of the system? So I don't know what's expensive, because retreats now are kind of online and ridiculously cheap. So can you elaborate what you mean by that? Oh, home practice programs? Oh, home practice programs are cheap. They're $10, yeah. Is that too expensive?
Yeah. It's
Um,
okay, by the way, Stephanie, to just be like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, so I will say, I'll tell you what's being offered. One is home practice programs that Shinzen started for people. This was pre-pandemic, but people who couldn't leave. You have householders who just can't take off for a retreat or can't afford it. And he determined that, and we saw people who had done nothing. It's once a month on the second weekend of the month, and there's 5 programs. Friday night, 2 hours, 2 4-hour ones on Saturday, 2 4-hour ones on Sunday, East Coast, West Coast shifts. So one of the Sunday or Saturday ones is going to be obscenely early for the West Coast. Like, I will not teach that one because I don't want to get up at 4 a.m. But he determined that if you could make that a whole weekend retreat, you could just take part of it. But we had people show up to retreats who'd been doing nothing but that for 2 years, and their practice was amazing, and they didn't have another coach. And that was one person from that is now one of our head teachers. So that Shinzen's theory about that proved to be true. There's a life practice program on Wednesdays where he talks with someone about how they're using mindfulness practically in their life, and you sign up for that, and it's like $10 a year. So it's just cheap. And then right now they've been cranking out teachers from UnifiedMindfulness.com. I mean, and they all have to do to get certified. They all have to do practicums where they don't charge any money. So that's pretty darn cheap. Free is cheap, right? So you can go there. I'm not sure what the expensive is that's being referred to.
That's okay. I
Okay.
think, but it was interesting to hear about what is on offer, right? So it at
And
least prompted that.
yeah, and by the way, I'm going to be, because Shinzen, this is before he sent out an email. He sent out an email. He's cutting back on doing retreats, but before that, Tucson Community Center was one of the first places he ever taught, and they saw ahead of time that he wasn't going to be there, so they decided to ask a senior teacher of his to come in instead of him. So I will be leading a retreat with Kaishin. In September 23rd to 26th, and it's going to be not your ordinary retreat because the focus is going to be on practical application of mindfulness in life. And so there'll be how to make everything a meditation, so that you don't have to like leave the meditation to do your life. You're just in meditation all the time. So that's the focus of that retreat, and it's pretty cheap, and it's all on Zoom, because the Zoom really brought the prices down in a big way. So that's what I know.
Awesome. And also folks are in the chat, folks are also highlighting other
Oh,
offerings,
yay.
including a bunch of free ones. All right, so we do have another question from Noah. Noah, would you like to ask your question?
No, because I'm terrified, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you mentioning flow. So that's really present for me. It's, both the kind of vibratory and the undulating. And so if that kind of goes on for a while, then there's like anxiety that comes up because it's sort of terrifying. So I just wondered if you have any tips about that.
Yes, I experience vibratory flow 24/7. I never don't have it. I didn't know that everyone didn't. So when you say it's terrifying, can you just tell me a little bit about that?
Um, I think it's I mean, just the physical sensation of, tension in my chest. So I guess I don't know if it sort of distracts me from focusing on the flow.
The tension in your chest distracts you from focusing on the flow.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the things, and I use Star Trek or The Wizard of Oz for analogies for almost everything, so forgive me for that. But the prime directive is, I'm going to put it, is that anytime anything's moving of any kind, anywhere, in any sensory experience, okay, that pretty much covers it, let it move however it wants to move. It's like you're the water and it's a creature that needs to dance its dance. Now, when you have flow all over, and this is part 2 of it, experience it as a massage. People used to put quarters into beds to get a feeling like that, okay? This is dates you. You don't remember things like that. But so whenever I feel that, so if anxiety comes, notice where the tension is. Because if you take tension away from anxiety, it kind of turns into a blissful excitement. So it might get in your jaw. It might get, and it's probably a habit pattern, and there's probably internal talk coming in somewhere going, oh no, oh no, oh no, right? And so what you might do, divide and conquer. And that's one of the things I loved that I learned from Shinzen. He'd say, you've got 10 units of pain in mental image, and you've got 10 units of pain, like internal talk is saying, oh no, I have COVID, and oh, I have to do this, and this is 10 of that, and you've got a migraine, and you're nauseous, and so say you've got 7 different places maxed out to 10. And if you can keep track of those, you got 70. If you can't keep track of them, instead of adding together, they multiply, and it's 10 times 10 times 10. And with that analogy, you're at 10 million, and you've just gone into overwhelm. And that's what overwhelm is. So when you can just pull them apart, just say, what part is this? What part is this? They don't multiply together. When you've got a habitual thing going on, like, that always comes here, then you want to pull it apart and maybe get individual techniques for the particular components that are at play in that particular arena. And I'm going to suggest it might be internal talk, feel in, emotional sensations, and tension in the body. So the first thing, what's tension in the body? It's something that's tight that you can let go of. If you can't, let's call it emotion. But look at the jaw, get the head on top of the shoulder, let this relax. The other thing is you turn towards it, you don't go, oh no, it's here. You're like, welcome. Shinzen used to say enlightenment is saying yes. And you go, because it's a gift. That flow, that vibration is a gift that you have. You're being massaged in each moment. Yay, right? So you've got that gift of that massage in each moment, that vibratory massage without the quarter, right? And then you may or may not be aware of the internal talk. So one thing, like a great thing about Shinzen system, there's so many options, but one thing you can do is the same part of the brain, one part of the brain processes auditory thinking. So the same part of the brain that hears the voice in the head here's the air conditioner, the dog panting, the birds, the leaf blower, the traffic. And so you could relax this and then listen out to sound to kind of unplug the internal talk in the head for a moment. And once you do that a few times, you realize it's very empowering. And you realize, because when this comes, it's like, oh no, I can't get out, right? And I did not know I was having panic attacks for decades until I stopped having them. I did not know that's what it was. I knew there were times when I couldn't breathe or function or think or speak, but I didn't know that was a panic attack, and I did not identify myself as someone who had panic attacks. But then with Shinzen's system, I really started feeling anxiety, and instead of it being, oh no, it's there, and there was a little voice in my head I called Mr. Bill, if you remember the Not Ready for Primetime players. There's a, no, Mr. Bill. And I realized the anxiety was going on. And then when I really learned to just relax around it, it turned into this kind of blissful energy. And Shinzen now calls me, I don't know if it's really a compliment or not, but he calls me an Energizer Bunny all the time because everyone thinks I have this endless energy for everything. And the endless energy I have was what was anxiety without the grasping around it. And what holds the anxiety in place is the judgment. You judge it's not good, that's gonna rivet it in place like a setting holds a diamond, right? And so you go, this is, or what was it? Superman used to take coal and make it into a diamond. We couldn't wait till he did that every time. Does he still do that? I'm sorry, that's when I was a kid. But it's like, this is the coal that turns into the diamond, except we're not going to squeeze it. We're going to let it go. So when you say I've got flow all the time, and I'm going, that's good news. And you can allow that vibration to even, with relaxation, breath out, elongating breath out activates parasympathetic nervous system. Let that allow the anxiety to flow with the vibration and become this productive, creative energy with which you manifest in the world. How empowering is that? I didn't tell anything about Shinzen's system, but I wanted to just directly address what you said. And the voice in the head, you might not hear it, but you might listen for it. But listening out to sound, if you go, oh, that's a relief, there's probably something in there chewing away, probably judging. That's how we do it. And play with that. Get back to me. Let me know how that goes. Is that helpful?
Yeah, I mean, I was able to just do that right now with the anxiety that I had about asking a question. I feel I can, yeah, it's already
Yeah.
working.
Yay. Yay. All right. Gold star on your chart.
Thank you.
I used to do that all the time. I taught film directors for 15 years, and I'd say, oh, you get a gold star on your chart for that. And then after like 3 years, one of them came up and said, where is this chart? You do have a chart, don't you? And I it was so cute. But you do have a gold star in your chart. So play with that. It's a gift. The flow is a gift. It really is. And if it ever gets to be too much, do elongated breaths out. Shinzen, another really lovely rest state is the visual rest of blank. What you see when you close your eyes, do you know that one? I've got something called a 10-minute chill. Just DM me. You can tell I'm on Clubhouse. Sorry, don't go there. You'll fall in. It's a black hole. But I'm used to saying DM me on Clubhouse. And I'm done speaking is what you say at the end of everything you say. But you can message me or probably Google it, but a 10-minute chill where you, and that just kind of helps, because instead of replacing the auditory with an external auditory, you go to a visual experience that does not require the mind to create. You're not envisioning a sea or, woods or anything like that. You're going to a resting visual place, and if you put all the eggs in the basket of visual, auditory unplugs. And for many people, that's the first time they experience the mind stopping. And I first came up with that after Shinzen came up with, in fact, that was the thing I told Shinzen of what I do, where he went, oh, I see, you're doing it this way. I want to do it this way. But people used to come up to me and say, can you make it stop? And I thought, you're going to need it. You don't want it to stop, but let's rest on the side of the pool. You don't have to be swimming all the time. So I hope that's helpful.
Very much so. Thank you.
Good. You're welcome.
Thanks, Noah. Thanks,
Thank
Stephanie.
you. Thank you for the question. Somebody else has probably wanted to hear that, so thank you.
All right. So I have another question sent to me to read, and I'm going to read it in just a moment. But before I do, someone did ask, since it's relevant to what just happened, someone said they would love a brief definition of vibratory flow / undulating flow for people not familiar with the terminology. Is that something we could just knock out really quickly?
Yes. So flow is a little bit of a kick word right now, because in positive psychology, something called flow state is being used to refer to being in the Tao, in the zone, in what we would call a heightened state of concentration, where you're highly functional and you can do all these things. We're using the word flow differently, and as far as I'm concerned, if you work with this flow, it takes you to that one. But we're using flow to talk about the moving, changing nature of all sensory experience. And sensory experience, what you see, you're going to move, your visual experience is going to move, your auditory experience is going to shift, the words in your head are going to shift, your body sensations are going to move, everything's going to move and change. So the moving, changing nature of your sensory experience, which could manifest in a variety of ways. vibration. I'm a vibrator. I'm vibrating 24/7. Vibration, undulation. Some people might get them both, where the fabric of it is vibratory, but there's an undulatory quality, and like a wave-like movement. It could be something spreading, something collapsing, something expanding, contracting, spreading, collapsing. Pressure could be a kind of flow. There's something kind of pushing in a direction. So any movement of any kind when we're working with flow is what we tune into and savor and appreciate as a massage, and that changes your world right there. When someone is I used to say, well, what I used to say too serious, but you know, I like tuning people into flow because it's always this kind of pleasant experience. I used to do this meditation where you're like seaweed in a tide pool, kind of, you know, we're kind of getting a feeling of that, but we are kind of like seaweed in a tide pool. I mean, we aren't solid, we aren't static, so it's tuning us into the moving, changing nature of everything. And it could be undulatory, it could be vibratory, it could be both. Does that answer?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So here's that question, as promised. Since calm and agitation coexist during meditation and real life, and I spend a lot of time in agitation in real life, how can I tap into the wisdom in agitation during meditation?
Well, you can experience it as a massage. That's going to be my answer to a lot of this. You can also, I had a client, I've had more than a few clients since then, but I had a client who would get kriyas when he meditated. His body would jerk like violently. And he was a really deep meditator. And he was like, what? You know, I'm in meditation and then my body's going. And we ended up going to the eye of the hurricane. And I said, down in the center is this deep stillness. And you can let everything move around. And if I use the Wizard of Oz, she's in the house and everything's moving around. And so you can, and I have an article I wrote. It's a blog. It's where I was in a thunderstorm as my tent was ripping apart on top of me, and I did a stillness meditation for 3 hours. Because I felt so grounded and still as everything around me was falling apart, literally. And so you could allow yourself to anchor in the calm and just let the agitation work its way out. You could go to the agitation, work to it as flow. You could go to the agitation and notice any tension within the agitation, because sometimes the agitation is a movement that wants to happen and then you're resisting it, like judgment, because you don't want it to happen, and that can create a kind of jerky experience that is kind of jagged and rather unpleasant. So I have it on my wall. I moved it into the kitchen. I'll say, what can you let go of in this moment? And so is there something you can let go of? So with the agitation, is there, oh, I hate it? Okay, if there's judgment, there's a high probability you've got some tension. One place I'm going to, that I don't hear other people emphasizing a lot, is the jaw. The jaw is the strongest single muscle in the body. And in the animal kingdom, the jaw is connected to survival. You live depending on the strength of your jaw. You attack, you eat. We don't have to attack people with our jaw. But if we feel our life isn't in control, we grind our teeth in our sleep, and we're not aware of how this locks in. And when the jaw locks, the belly gets tight and you can't get a breath. Usually, here's the posture. Usually the head's too far forward. When the head's forward, the jaw has to engage. Just doing that's an act of kindness, so that can drop. But the back of the neck, the jaw, and the stomach are all kind of like this triangle that connect. So if you're agitated, get the head on top. I would first look at the jaw, and you can release the jaw, and all sorts of other things can just start to give way. And then that agitation may turn into a kind of a little ride. Check it out. If that was your question, let me know. Oh, let's read that. That was magical. Oh, I don't know what that was, but that sounds good.
I think that came in just after you'd finished speaking with Noah. So I think it's
Oh, okay.
conversation
Magical.
with
Okay, that
Noah.
was magical. Okay, good.
Let's see.
Is that helpful? Well, I don't know.
But, I mean, it was helpful for me.
Okay.
I hope it was also helpful for that. I've been finding all of this very helpful.
I'm the individual that asked it, and it was indeed helpful.
Oh, good, good. Thank
And
you.
what I found strange when you brought up the jaw situation, I for many years I've had TMJ issues, and I still have TMJ issues, and I find so much correlation between my TMJ issues and I also have PTSD, and I find a lot of correlation between my jaw issues and my PTSD.
I bet. So can I offer a couple other things then for
Sure.
that?
Sure.
So do you sleep curled up on your side?
Yeah, I do. I also have sleep apnea, and I've been told that
That'll do.
I spend very little of my time in REM sleep. I spend
Right.
a lot of my time in light sleep. But yes, I do believe I sleep on my side quite
So
a
you're
bit.
not getting a deep you're not getting deep restfulness, and your sleep isn't giving you deep restfulness. So
Well, I also use a CPAP machine, so that's
so
supposed to be
you've
okay.
got that attached, and
Yeah.
because you could go on your side. So what'll be really helpful, and the machine is it cover your nose and mouth, or does it just cover your nose?
No, it's just it's nasal pills.
Oh,
It
it's
just
not
goes
one of
into
the.
my yeah. It's a hose coming out of the top of my head,
Yeah, that
and
comes
I don't have the full mouthpiece thing. I have it just going into my
just in your
my
nose.
nose.
Excellent. Then when you're on your side, because when we curl up on our side, like if I took my hand, and I don't have a fist, it's just kind of like this, but if I put another hand on top of it like that, the one inside starts to tighten, even if I'm just resting this on there. So in a way, when we curl up like that, the jaw then goes, oh, let me. So one act of kindness you could do for yourself when you're sleeping, if you sleep on your side, I usually try to get people on their back, but that's a hard transition, especially if you're used to the comfy, like, oh, I'm burying under my pillow. If you have that, I have ways to get through that too, but we're going to deal with other things here. But when you go on your side, if you let your pillow, rather than going down like this, just raise your head up so you're looking straight to the side. Have the pillow here, not up in here, and this might even hang a bit, but it helps you release the jaw while you're sleeping. And the other really nice thing, and it's a lovely thing to do before bed, is a little massage where you start here at the base of the skull, 4 fingers across, deep. You never massage the jaw without breathing out. To hold your breath and massage the jaw would be as if I flex a muscle and say massage it. I'll get sore. So the jaw, you don't mess with it. You just always with the breath out. The breath is lubrication. And move the flesh around on the bones. Come up. You'll have the fingers by the ear here. Right in here is going to be, you can go as deep as you want, but when you do, there's a high probability you're going to get all sorts of pain back in here and a headache. But breathe out, release. That's part of it, releasing. Just go as deep as you feel you can go at that moment. Then go over the jawline, go up into the hair. Once you go up here, it feels good. People get their hair washed just to experience that. You don't, because you don't have hair. But then just keep moving it up around up here. And, tension headaches, if you take your hands and you put it here and you clench your teeth, this pops out. The jaw muscle comes all the way up here. So if you move this around, go all the way up to the top of your head before sleep while lying in bed. Now, if you had hair, I would say, you've heard of Mohawk Indians, I would say grab your mohawk and pull and let it right before sleep. Now, you don't have hair, so what I say for people who don't, come up here and then play the piano.
Okay.
Little acupressure, play the piano right along this line here, and lift the head up into the hands, and that sets you up so that in sleep you can begin to release that. For now, just work with it however you can, and there's because there can be other things out of balance in other places, and our bodies are always seeking balance, though.
Yes. Yeah.
So if it's out of balance, there's probably something on the other side somewhere else, and all that jazz. I also do body language, needless to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Thank you.
releasing the jaw is a big deal. It really
Yeah.
is. When someone wants mindfulness for creativity and they say, can you do mindfulness for creativity? The first thing I do is teach them how to release their jaw. It's more creative, because if the metaphor for the jaw is control, what's the opposite of control? Creativity.
Yeah. I'm definitely somebody who enjoys control.
Well, just don't let it wreak havoc on your body.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting better about that.
Yeah.
I'm
Play with don't know mind. What's the advantage of not knowing? And you know what's really fun about that? Hang out with kids or the puppies,
yeah.
you know, and they're cool with it. It's like they're our teachers in that way. So thank you for coming on and let me interact with you, so I know and can help a
Thank
little.
you. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you. You've been very interesting. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right. Thank you, Daniel.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Really appreciate it. Take care. Thanks,
Bye.
Stephanie.
Didn't think we were going there, did you?
You never know. I like a dog or a child, I try and remain concerned with the moment before me.
I remember explaining to someone, don't know mine is a goal. It doesn't go over well all the time.
I'm curious about the puppy meditation, but that's maybe a conversation for another time. Okay, so Sean, do you want to ask your question?
Sure. So, yeah, my question is, you mentioned something about like kind of meditation for creativity. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that. I know like Shinzen seems to be really into like meditation to increase like spontaneity. I don't know if that's kind of related to increasing creativity.
Yeah, Shinzen's take on creativity, he'll take you right to what he calls auto. I remember when he first was explaining auto, and I said, what are you doing? And he went, you just allow things to spontaneously arise. And I said, how is that different from every moment? And he said, well, it wouldn't matter for you. You're already doing, and I thought, that's not helpful. If I have, if I have to co-teach at a retreat with him, I got to teach this stuff. So, he has to explain it. So my take on it's a little different than Shinzen's take, but I can teach I know all his stuff, so I can present his stuff, and then I'll tell you what I've come. I happen to be an artist, and I have a nonprofit called Mindfulness Arts. And so I work with creative artists. It's a big part of what I do. So I have other realms in which I bring into that. But for Shinzen, it's about he likes to tune you into the motor movement of something. He taught it for a while. He taught auto walk, auto speak, and I shot a video of him doing it, and he's kind of moving in this spastic way, and everyone's like, are we supposed to move in a spastic way? Like, what is this? And I remember when I was teaching, and I showed everyone the video, and I said, you know what to do? And they just kind of looked and went, no, not really. So I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. And in fact, Shinzen asked me to make a video of it and put it on YouTube. Oh, I think I did. I think it's on YouTube, where I'd say, do something. I think I had everyone walk really quickly around the room without running into anything. Walk as fast as they can around the room without running into things. I say, now notice that you're walking without running into anything, but you take off the oh no, I had them walk as fast as they could without running into anything, and think about something. Think about something. Think about what you had for lunch. Think about what you're going to do. And then I say, okay, now take it away and just notice you're automatically walking. So it's kind of appreciating the automatic nature. Once I did that, people went, oh, like golf, like playing the violin, like, then everyone went, oh, because we all spontaneously kind of drop into that automaticness that isn't the automaticness when someone's talking and they're not really present. It's an automaticness where you're I don't know if you watch the Olympics, but just like watch the high dives. They go into this like deep meditation, and they're like 4 stories up there, and they go deep meditation, and then they twist their body in so many ways. If they were thinking, they could not do that. They let the practice of doing it do it. Their body just did it. So they went into auto as they kind of come down. You know what I mean? So that's Shinzen's version of what he calls creativity. When I work with, Warner Brothers called me, and I worked with all the executives at Warner Brothers, and I said to them, and they were saying, well, we've got all these creative people under us, and what do we do? And I'd say, well, you know where all the best ideas come, you know? You guys know where all your best ideas come? In the shower, right? Isn't that where all the best ideas come? In the shower. And there was a study that all the best ideas come in the shower. And I said, so you got to create a shower for all the people under you. And what is the shower? It's the time where we turn off, right? And we allow it. When I was at Yale School of Drama, we were working, creating, coming up with stuff. And on Sunday, I took the day off. And Sunday night, I go to bed, and all these ideas came. I was up all night writing down all the ideas because it was the one time I took off. So it's balancing effort with release. When I'm doing creativity workshops, we start with the jaw. You know, I have some physiological things I do, but sometimes I might have people do some kind of dynamic physical movement, and then everyone has to lay on the floor. And boy, do they get a bunch of ideas, you know. So in terms of meditation for creativity, one way to play with that would be with a similar dynamic as what I'm saying. You're doing and then letting go, and doing and letting go. You notice that theme even when I was doing Shinzen's auto. Think and now let go of the thinking. Do this and then let go. You could play with a practice that involves like labeling or some kind of practice, and then a practice like do nothing, or hands off, spacious awareness practice. You know, you could alternate these and really see. And it helps you identify what comes in to guide you, to set your intention, to control. And what is it like when you let that go? And then you start to have more spontaneity and letting go-ness in your life because you can taste the flavor of it. So Shinzen's do nothing practice. People say, oh, I do nothing. And I go, just by itself, I go, can I recommend you do it at the end after you've done something else? Because then you can really tangibly tune into what it is you're letting go of. Say, let go of the intention to control your attention. That's the directions. And we use that one for the Harvard study that I guided and did. So it's like, well, what is the intention? What's that feel like when I have an intention? And so when you let that go, there's a kind of a liberation and an openness. And that's that childlike, anything's possible. Then you've left the conceptual framework that we get trapped in, if that makes sense. So is that, I don't know, is that helpful?
Yeah, definitely. I think that experimenting with the do nothing seems like a lot of fun.
Yeah, like see, hear, feel, or something with labeling. Just go to do nothing. And then, yeah, that'd be fun.
Yep. Thanks.
Thanks, Sean. Thank you, Stephanie.
Mm-hmm.
So here's one that I will read. Unified Mindfulness emphasizes cultivating concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity as the 3 core skills of mindfulness. Some traditions emphasize continuous mindfulness as being very important. What is your take on the need to reach a point of having unbroken mindfulness, and what's the best way to get there?
So you're using the word mindfulness, you're using mindfulness to mean concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity. Shinzen used to say mindfulness and equanimity, and then he broke mindfulness down into concentration and sensory clarity, you know, and equanimity. But, and then tell me the question, what's the advantage, or what was it? What's the last?
Yeah, it was, what's your take on the need to reach a point of having unbroken mindfulness, and what's the best way to get there?
Okay, I don't ever think of it as a need to do it. I think of it as an evolution. I think of us as evolving to a state where there's a paradigm shift, and we're no longer going to meditate. We are in a state of meditation or mindfulness 24/7. That to me is being rich and alive and awake. I don't think of it as a need to get, there's something, I don't think of it as a, I gotta get there. I think of it as a growing up. I think of it as an evolution of and that the way it happens, for some people it's dramatic. It happens in one moment. But for most people, Shinzen used to say, you can get wet by jumping in the water or by walking through the mist. And most people get it from walking through the mist, and they're not even aware. They don't even notice. They don't even notice the shift. Kind of like the guy who went, my wife is nicer, except let's do it in a deeper, longer term thing. And whether we're talking about enlightenment or mindfulness 24/7, I do think it's us evolving to our complete full selves. And so I think it's it helps. Our experience is richer. I mean, that's why you would want it. And then how to get it would be this practice of doing it. It's like we have habits. We all have habits that get in our way. We all have obstacles and habits, that things we do, something happened, we reacted to that, and we did something and we felt something, and the next time that thing happened, there's a higher probability we're going to react in that way and feel that same thing and react in that same way. And once we've done it 3 or 4 times, the probability of that happening again is high, to where that's just our habit pattern, and then that gets in the way of this evolving self. And so Vipassana or mindfulness is a way of kind of just getting those things, looking at those habit patterns and developing new habit patterns. And if we want to get scientific, we're literally developing new neural pathways. Anything you focus on, a neural pathway gets created for it. And it's like the brain says, oh, you keep looking at that. You want a path for that? Okay, well, oh, you keep looking, let's pave it. All right, pretty soon it's a 4-lane highway. And guess what? The old 4-lane highway grows over. So that's how it happens, whether it's you're sitting in formal practice for 4 hours a day, or whether during your day you're finding little moments here and there to integrate the practice. So when I'm petting my puppy, I'm tuning into the feeling of the puppy. I'm feeling my emotional, and I hear the sounds I make, because I don't, my partner would say, you are making, because the dogs in the neighborhood see me and go, and I go, and I say, why do they do it? And he said, you're making the same sound. Because I see the dogs, I'm like, it's the dog, because I'm just a dog fanatic. And so when I see the dog, I get this like warm, and that's another thing we don't do enough of. We know to tune into when things don't feel good, but when things feel good, where do you feel that? Let the brain go, oh, you want a 4-lane highway to feel that? And so you really start having your day. You could just have your day be, I know farmers who just seem to me to be as enlightened as the Roshi or the guru in India. They're present with what they're doing. They're feeling it. Not all farmers. I just happen to know a farmer who is. But where you finding moments or opportunities to let go. Like I have, what can you let go of? What can you let go of in this moment? What feels good? To tune in, because I'm busy going over here. I don't. So these little moments to stop. Thich Nhat Hanh has bells that go off all day long. When you're in a Thich Nhat Hanh retreat and a bell goes off, you got to stop and feel. Oh, where am I? Breathe. Ruth Dennison, who I loved. And as an ode to her, I use, can you feel your feet? And so whenever anyone says, how do I get grounded? I go, feel your feet, so you can have these little moments. So maybe you go to a monastery, maybe you practice every day, maybe you incorporate it into your life, but you're creating new habits that become part of your wiring. And then the last thing I'll say on this, meditation is the gym. Shinzen uses that analogy a lot. If someone says, can I get a bicep lifting my groceries into the car? You're like, yeah, you're going to have to lift a lot of groceries. But if you go to the gym, just in a few weeks of doing some reps, you start to get a bicep. And guess what? It's part of you. And you don't say, I'm going to use my bicep to go lift my groceries. You just lift your groceries. You just walk the dog. And you're naturally feeling, I feel the love that I feel for the dog. I feel the the touch. And so the see, hear, feel experience is part of my world, because I spent 20 years soaking into it and rewiring for that. And I don't think about it. I don't try it. I don't make effort, really. So that's how I think it becomes. You just practice it. And when you start, maybe contrary to most teachers, but you can tell I'm into fun and feel good. But, everyone says, I have to watch the breath, and I hate watching the breath, and I'm going to watch the breath forever. Pick a meditation you like. The vitamins don't do you any good in the bottle, so pick one you like. Pick one you like that feels good, that feels productive. Then you start to get some traction. Then go back to the breath. Then the breath might be a whole different experience. So you play with it, and you just make it a commitment in your life that you want to evolve. You want to be free, is my answer to that.
Thank you, Stephanie. I hope the questioner found that answer as interesting and illuminating as I did. First of all, shout out to the Queen, Ruth Dennison. Love Ruth Dennison. I went on
Her
retreat.
Dachshund.
I never met Ruth. But my teacher studied with Ruth. One of my teachers studied with Ruth, and I did retreat at Dhammadina, her center. And there was a little card, I think, in the bathroom, and it just said, I think it was something like, if you're suffering, it means you missed the unpleasant sensation, or something like that. It's like based on what I know of Ruth Dennison, it was like a very Denisonian sentiment.
I loved her. When I first decided, Shinzen kept telling me to teach, and I said, Shinzen, I'm busy. I'm teaching actors and directors. I don't have time to teach. He said, yeah, but you're teaching my teachers, and you really should teach. And I'm going, really, I don't. Can I just take the teacher training? Do I really have to teach? And then people kept asking me to teach, and I went, okay. And I looked around, and this is in an interview I did. I won't repeat it. Tucker Peck did an interview about teaching meditation where he asked me about this. But I was looking for women, because at that time it was a bunch of serious Jewish men teaching. And I said, are there any funny women anywhere? And I couldn't find any. And I went around and I looked, and I found like 4 or 5 women teaching, and I went, okay. And then I found Ruth Dennison. Now, she wasn't funny, but I fell in love with her. I mean, I don't mean I fell in love with the idea of her. I was in a room of 18 people, and she was right here, and I just fell in love with her. And then it seemed like she was teaching right to me, and at one point she needed time, and I took my watch off and I gave it to her. She never gave it back, and I didn't care, And then I went to her retreat, and someone said, Ruth, you're late. And she said, I am timeless, And I sat there and thought, oh, I'm timeless now because of Ruth Dennison. She took my watch, I never got a watch after that. But, I just, my heart just opened to her, and she'd make everyone stand up and dance and change places. You're all in change, go to different places, and you would hard to believe that she and Wanka had the same teacher and were students at the same time. Yeah. Opposite, yeah.
So anyone who's not familiar, who hasn't heard this name before, just get Googling after we're done here, obviously. Dennison with 1 N, Ruth Dennison, just an awesome meditation
and I can
teacher.
tell so many stories about her. She's just wonderful.
Yeah, she's really great.
Yeah.
Here the queue is dry right now. We're getting close to the end anyway, but so I'm gonna permit myself a little question.
The queue is dry.
And here it is. So I hear you saying, how do you frame it? Like, what can you let go of right now? Is that how you say it? First of all, that's beautifully put, and my new mantra. Really resonates. Really resonates. And you and I can talk about that some other time. But to me, there's a connection there with Buddhism, right? And the idea of craving, clinging, grasping. And of course, Shinzen himself is, Shinzen, right, is Shingon Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, right? Shinzen's training is Buddhist. I don't know if he identifies Unified Mindfulness as a Buddhist system. That hasn't been my impression. I wonder, so I know that it does in your thinking and in your practice. In unified mindfulness, are some of the more core Buddhist principles around, say, so I know impermanence is there, right, in the form of flow. What about the stuff around craving, right, and the central role of craving, grasping, clinging, holding on in the experience of suffering? I don't know if I've heard, I guess Shinzen has that groovy equation, but is it something that arises?
Which groovy equation are you talking
Touche.
about?
Suffering equals pain times resistance.
Oh, okay.
But does the sort of ideas of craving, holding on, grasping, does that emerge in the practices anywhere taught in unified mindfulness? And also selflessness, the absence or the illusory nature of the self. Do those things show up relentlessly in sort of mainline Buddhism? Do they show up in unified mindfulness?
Well, if you're saying do they show up, meaning do people experience them, or you mean is it literally spoken about in that terminology? So basically, do people experience no self or selflessness? Absolutely. And that goes in, Shinzen now has quadrants, but, that goes in the good quadrant of how we manifest in the world. So, that is the idea is to love and serve. And so, that comes in, and in terms of selflessness, people can do expansion and contraction and drop down into no self, and suddenly, you have, there's no self and selflessness. And I think you're meaning selflessness to mean of a giving nature, not focused on self, you're not meaning that to mean no self, correct?
No, I actually think I did mean anatta, no self.
No self. Okay.
Yeah.
So the central, what used to be the central fundamental teaching was expansion, contraction, cessation, and cessation would be no self. So if you go to what the basis of flow is, all that vibration, undulation, spreading, collapsing, expansion, contraction, all of that at the core is really just expansion and contraction, and expansion and contraction cancel each other out, and you have cessation or no self. And that's kind of the essence core. If you get down to the deepest root of flow, that's it. We are born in each moment through the forces of expansion and contraction, and we return in each moment. The other thing you brought up was craving and aversion. Well, I think in terms of the resistance, that resistance equation would probably be Shinzen can wax poetic, and he'd rather talk T.S. Eliot, though, to be perfectly honest. But he could do a Dharma talk talking about various things, but that is just a form of resistance, and basically equanimity. If you have equanimity, there's no craving or aversion. Equanimity is the letting go of that. So equanimity, relaxed body, mind not needing answers, so for me, his equanimity kind of covers that in that, because what is not equanimity? Not equanimity is you're grasping or craving. So for me, that's how that's addressed. He doesn't do Dharma talks about craving or aversion necessarily. He's a little more interested in the kind of getting down into the fundamental ingredients in what we're doing. If that makes sense. So that's kind of, I would say the fundamental flow goes to, and then, the no self experience, you don't need to just meditate on expansion and contraction to have it. You can drop into that at any moment. People do all the time. That's not an unusual event from what I'm seeing. But yeah.
No, that's helpful. And as soon as you said equanimity, it's like, oh yeah, duh. One of the 3 things that Shinzen talks about the most. It's right there. So my bad.
And also so much, like I remember one time I had this experience where I was Oh, I know. I had something where I was watching, I was allowing something to go. Oh, I know. I was doing expansion contraction, and then I had some kind of emotion. Something it was hard, and I go, well, it wants to contract, and contraction gets a bad rap. Like we think expansion's good. Like everybody wants expansion, and oh, I'm spreading and spacious awareness, and contraction we associate with tension, but something can contract down to a point that doesn't mean it has tension. And I remember I had an emotion one time, and I was on retreat, and I said, and it was really a kind of gnarly one. I went, I know how to expand and let it go here. I'm going to let it contract. And I just said, keep going, keep going. Where's it going to go? What's it going to do? Disappear? Like, it's here. Where's it going to go? So I just kind of let it go, and it just smaller, 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 smaller. And then suddenly, in an instant, it's like it disappeared, and this energy, this intense energy, which later someone said is Kundalini, but intense energy started at the base of my spine, went like a rocket booster up my body, and I was like, wow, and I walked around like that for months. I met Lee Brasington later. He said, no, you just do that for 15 minutes. I go, no, I did that for months. And I finally learned how to do a pilot control. But it was just like, whoa. And then every time I would just let something contract, it would like light this energy up my spine. And I asked Shinzen on retreat, and I said, what is that? What happened? He said, that was true equanimity. He said, you really let go. And for me, whenever I think, now the word surrender gets a little hot and dicey, especially if someone's had trauma or some kind of experience, and surrender that word can be a tough one. And I didn't like it for a long time. But when I just surrender, this let go, this total, and that's every time that leads to some really kind of amazing experiences. And Shinzen said, that's complete equanimity. You were willing to go through your concept of, oh no, and let that go. So I let go of the resistance. I let go of the craving, So anyway.
Thank you. That's really helpful and interesting. And I just love how the framework of the system, which I think some people might see as too clinical, right? Or it's too much of a sort of graph or spreadsheet. But then to hear how for you, it has at many points provided such a productive, supportive scaffolding for this deep, deep exploration. There's like really something to be said for having a scaffolding that channels your work in productive directions and fruitful directions. So hearing you talk about the system as something you've lived, rather than maybe just reading about it or seeing, a diagram about it, has in this discussion, I think, really opened my eyes to what it might feel like, or how it might benefit a person, how it might benefit a meditator as an actual lived, applied system and scaffolding. So just from me personally, thank you. And since we're getting to the end, on behalf of everyone, let me say thank you so much, Stephanie. This was extremely cool. I learned a lot. I think lots of people learned a lot. The questions were great, by the way. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. The answers were great. Thank you, Stephanie, for your answers.
And contact me if anybody wants to ask any other questions, or if I can support you. Please contact me. I answer all emails, maybe at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I will.
And I don't know if you want to say your email, since this is going to be on a video.
It's strategicmindfulness@gmail.com. It's out there in the world. So
there it is.
strategicmindfulness@gmail.com. Let me support you. Why are we here? Life is short. Let's make the most of it. Yeah.
Amazing. So thank you for being so generous with us. And we're basically at the hour mark here. So yeah, check out Stephanie's website. Come to our website if you want, sit-heads.com, hang out with us.
I've sent people to you. I've sent people to you.
Have you really?
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, everybody. Bye. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. I hope I'll see you all again soon. Take
Be
care,
mindful
everybody.
out there.
Bye.
Bye.